Rod, thank you for joining us today. We have Rod Foster-Hill, Senior HR Business Partner, joining us from Travers Smith. My name is Rachael Harrison. I'm Customer Success Director here at Identify. And this is our People First series. So Rod has kindly agreed to join us today to kind of go through what's been happening at Travers Smith over the pandemic. Rod, if you'd just like to give a bit of background on yourself, that'd be marvellous.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. So I've worked at Travers Smith for the last couple of years, very much in the capacity as Senior HR Business Partner. I've been in HR for many years now, and I've worked across many different sectors from financial services, retail, leisure. My formative career was spent within telecoms.
Marvellous. So as you can see, we're both working from home, as most people are at the moment, I think. So what we're going to do is just kind of go through a little bit about how you've treated your employees and candidates that have gone through or are going through the recruitment process with Travers Smith at the moment. So what do you think your biggest challenge has been, or what would you say it's been over the last sort of 4 months in terms of the pandemic?
I think there's been different levels. So at the start of the pandemic, it was very much about making sure that people had all the right equipment and things to enable them to work successfully from home. Because obviously the lockdown came pretty quick. So almost one day we were in the office, the next day it was like, you can't come in anymore.
Yeah.
So as a firm, it's been quite challenging to make sure that everybody's got what they need to enable successful working, which we have. I think then early on, some of the things that we had to think about was making sure that we had policies and things that supported people in this new world, and that was around making sure that we had good policies in place that could enable parents, carers, etc., to be able to work, but also manage their home life, if you like, because obviously then homeschooling and things like that came in. So that was sort of quite a challenge early on, just to make sure that everybody was set up and people were comfortable. I think as things have gone on, then one of the sort of big concerns that we had was obviously about people feeling a bit detached and a bit isolated, and a bit remote. And everybody has different working arrangements and different office setups. You know, some people have an office at home, which is great. Others are potentially having to work from their sort of kitchen table, or their dining table. And in some cases, we've had people that are actually working from their bedroom,
Okay.
the only space that they've got available. So I think it was just making sure that we were cognizant of these things. And again, if there was other stuff that we needed to support with, from the perspective of equipment or helping people to have better kit and kit that could support their working from home.
Okay. And presumably you overcame that challenge. Were you able to do it quite quickly, or?
Yeah, I think so. So pretty much. So what I think has been one of the great things that we've done as a firm is to make sure that we keep that communication going. And certainly from a HR perspective, we've very much made sure that people are communicated with regularly, making sure that our managers are contacting people on a regular basis. And obviously we've utilised Skype. We've now just migrated to Teams, to ensure that we can have those virtual catch-ups and that people can see their colleagues, and then have those interactions. So again, people didn't feel that they were so alone and isolated. And I think the other thing that we did was pretty early on, we had a mental health week, which was very much, we had speakers and people talking about some of the challenges of this new world and giving people hints and tips. And we did quite a bit. The theme for this year was very much around good sleep. And also the other thing that we tried to focus on was people being able to switch off. So because you're literally, your home is your work environment, people weren't getting that commute, which is often where people unwind after the day and take time to reflect and have that differential between this is my workplace, this is my home. So we had some sort of experts to give hints and tips about how they could overcome that.
And have you found that people kind of were switching off at kind of 5, half 5, or were they actually continuing sort of later on into the evening? Because I know that's something that I do.
Yeah, well, so typically, I mean, it's a very busy law firm. So typically, when we're in the office, we have quite long days, and some people were switching off, some were not, and obviously we were trying to make sure and encourage people to kind of finish at a decent time, and not just carry on working, because it's very easy just to get swept away in the day, and then before you realize it, it's like 7 o'clock at night and you're like, oh, I haven't stopped yet.
Yeah.
That's been quite difficult, but again, it's that communication piece, and actually the leadership of the firm very much encouraging people to try and maintain that work and home life balance.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, because I mean, I've heard, varying stories from people that work at different places, and I think, like you say, trying to keep that communication is the key thing. Some places I've heard haven't kept their employees kind of updated or had that much communication with them, which obviously can leave staff feel a bit deflated or demotivated. But of course, if you're doing that and you're encouraging that communication, I mean, that's excellent. Have you had any feedback from your staff on it?
Yeah, we've had very positive feedback. Through the course of the week, we get regular communication from our managing partner, who give firm-wide updates and sort of talks about topical issues of the day. And obviously, as we've rolled different policies and different processes out to work in this new world, very much making sure that's communicated, but also that's been supported by other members of our leadership team have written communication updates, and talked about different elements. So our HR directors done quite a few on people and people related matters, but then also we've made sure that our managers are holding like regular weekly catch-ups with their team, and that's even included some people that due to circumstances that are unable to work at home. So we've essentially had to place those on a period of paid leave, because the nature of their role means they physically can't work at home. So we've made sure that those people are all included, but then also that our managers are conducting the one-to-ones through the week, even if that's a sort of a 15-20 minute or maybe 30-minute chat, just to check in with people and see how people are doing, and again to make sure that we're providing that dialogue and that communication, that so they are kept fully aware of how things are going within the firm.
Okay, excellent. And I mean, are there many of your staff that have been furloughed or?
So yeah, I mean, we haven't technically furloughed them, because we aren't claiming money from the government in that regard. So we had about 70, I guess, to start with, and as time has gone on, people have been brought back as there's meaningful work that they can actually do.
Okay. And in terms of kind of re-engaging or re-onboarding those people, how has that been? Has that been quite straightforward?
Yes, it has. I think that's been straightforward, because we've very much kept that regular dialogue with people, and Travers is very good at being quite open and quite honest and quite transparent in its communication. So I think all the way through, we've kind of talked to people about, we anticipate that there will be an opportunity for some people to come back, this week and that week. And then obviously the managers again every week are talking with their people. And some people have had a little bit of anxiety about coming back to work, understandably, particularly those that we have required to go into the office, that they've had anxiety about commutes and things, and we've tried to support that and understand that, and where possible, take into account people's nervousness and their concerns.
Okay, excellent. And obviously, well, you've discussed work, people working remotely and kind of keeping communication with them. How have you felt? And I know that obviously you've said some people are working later on and they're continuing to work as normal or maybe longer hours in some instances, because it's quite difficult to switch off. Have you found that it's been easy to manage people remotely?
I think that's an interesting question, and I think the answer is a bit mixed. Some people have found it very easy, because obviously you have the benefit of whether that's Skype or Teams or Zoom or whatever, so we can, people can see their team members and you can still have team meetings. I think some people have found it less easy because they find it harder to engage in a virtual way, because obviously, you do miss a bit of that, the sort of energy you get off somebody when you're actually with them.
Yeah.
For instance, when you're just looking at somebody on a screen. But again, we've just encouraged and asked people to talk to us about concerns, and we have mechanisms in place, whether that's counsellors or coaches and things like that, to help people through this difficult time. And we're very happy to refer people through that. But also in my role, it's very much about supporting the managers and understanding if people are having challenges by doing this virtual management, virtual one-to-ones. We've gone through an appraisal cycle during the pandemic, which is less easy when it's remote. You just lose that sort of intimacy and that personal contact.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how do you think it's going to work moving forward? I mean, when we're out of the pandemic, do you think that there are going to be a number of people that want to maintain that working from home on a regular basis? And is that something that you would encourage?
Yeah, I guess as a firm, I mean, one of the unique culture of Travers Smith is very much the office is at the heart of our firm. So we have a setup whereby our lawyers sit in smallish rooms that have associates and trainees with them. So often they can learn through osmosis because they're with people. So I think the office will still be very much part of Travers Smith and be very important to our culture. But I think we will shift to a more flexible approach when we come out of that, because it has proven that we've worked quite successfully from home, and we've managed to deliver in this virtual world. And in some of the teams have been probably more busy than when they were in the office, so people have sort of risen to that challenge. So I think we will get more flexibility, but I do honestly believe the office will remain at the heart of Travers and our very special culture. We're a very people-centric and people-driven firm that genuinely does care about its people.
Good. Okay, that's really good news. Okay, so in terms of your learning in this period, what would you say is the biggest piece of advice that you would give to other people in the industry, or just generally navigating the period?
Yeah, I think the key thing for me is communication, and that's about open and honest communication, encouraging people to express their challenges and their difficulties, and then facing into them and see how we can support and help our people to be comfortable, to get the things they need. And it's we another important thing is obviously having decent equipment and stuff that enables that remote working and enable people to be productive. And thanks to our great technology team, that's been a real success for us through the lockdown, pretty much from day one.
Excellent. Okay, marvelous. I mean, have you got anything that you want to add to this? I mean, in terms of your staff, your people, your recruitment actually as well.
Yeah, I mean, recruitment's been interesting actually, virtual, in as much as clearly face-to-face interviews have gone out the window, so we've had to go into a more virtual world, where we're conducting interviews over Skype or Teams or Zoom, which sometimes you, again, to my earlier point, you do lose that little bit of that energy you get when you're actually with somebody. So that's been interesting, but I think we've navigated that very well. And in actual fact, we've onboarded about 12, no, probably more than that, 15 people remotely.
Oh,
So
wow.
again,
Okay.
that's been interesting, doing an induction remotely and making sure, from a logistics perspective, that people have got their Travers kit and they can get on their first day. And then we do a welcome. Again, we normally do that face to face, but again, we've had to do all that virtually. And I think we've adapted really well. And I think it's been very, very successful.
Okay, that's excellent news. Marvellous. Okay, well, I think they are all the questions I needed to cover. Unless there's anything else that you think I've missed that you want to talk about.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the overarching thing I think that's been successful for us is our leadership and their communication. Genuinely, it's a simple message, but by having that regular dialogue and regularly communicating with the teams, I think people still feel very much part of the firm, despite the fact we're not all in the office.
Okay, good. And I mean, just to add, I would agree that, even with Identify, we're a much smaller company than you, obviously, but it's been very communicative, and I think that has helped everybody through the period. So I think we're kind of we're all on board with the regular communication and helping people through difficult times, because it is difficult. It's been difficult for everybody, I think, and really strange.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's excellent. But thank you so much, Rod, for taking the time to speak with me today, and hopefully people will be able to take something from what we've discussed today.
Yeah, great. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.